step between reinsurance and direct client is insurance, but we actually, it proves probably that we are all one team and we are working together to protect the client's interests. And the presentation of Mr. Gregory is a risk management from a builder's point of view. Please.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to me this evening. Special thanks to Malika for inviting us for this evening. We really appreciate the opportunity. My name is Gregory Pess. I am from New Zealand. I'm a boat builder by trade. I started my career in 1997. I've had a lot of luck, actually. I have a lot of luck in my career. I managed to meet some very influential people and managed to jump the ladder a little bit quicker than others might have. The background of my experience has been mainly with America's Cup, Volvo 52, the high-end kind of racing yacht market. I moved to Dubai. I've been to Dubai a few times, but I moved there permanently 3 years ago. And 4 months ago I joined Legacy Yachts. Legacy Yachts is a company that's been here for about 6 years, and last year we spent a lot of time looking at the market, looking at our approach to the market, and just deciding how was the best way to approach the UAE. Risk management from a builder's point of view, there's a lot of topics I could cover. I just want to focus on a couple of smaller items because they have been prevalent in the last 3-4 months. UAE, it has a long history in the marine industry, and they've been building boats here for thousands of years. And for all intents and purposes, the type of boat that they built here historically has been ideal for their requirements. In the last 40 years, particularly in the last 20 years, the market has developed a lot more towards the leisure industry. So the dhows, the traditional dhows, they're still a fantastic boat and they have their place and their purpose. There's been a transition in the way the market is buying and using craft. And a lot of the time, the knowledge and the experience that comes from the older craft does not transfer so well into the new designs. And this has created a situation where there are a lot of risks, particularly with electrical. And that's what I kind of want to focus on, the risks on the electrical side of things. In the last 3 months, we've had 3 very high-profile boat fires in Dubai itself, and they've all stemmed back to electrical issues. I mean, it doesn't stop with electrical. There's processes that, as a builder, we need to put in place right the way through to ensure safety of the craft. Now, from my background, European background, we've been dealing with the leisure craft for a lot longer period of time. And there's things that we do as second nature that we need to start transferring into the market in the UAE. We've got a very strongly growing marine market here. There's a lot of development. There is a lot of potential for further development, and particularly with the logistics of the UAE, you can't ask for a better place to manufacture. You've got fantastic access into Africa, fantastic access into Europe, you've got good access into Asia. There's a lot of logistics between the States and the UK. So as a central hub, as a manufacturing hub, you can't ask for a better location in any market, really. The overheads here are not as cheap as they would be in Asia, but the position that we're in gives us great access into a global market, better than you find anywhere else. But to really capitalise on this, we need to develop the safety in the local market. It's easier said than done, but it's just an educational process. And I think you guys are probably mostly aware that a lot of the times the insurance of a new craft here is a lot more than of an existing craft. And it's not just because of the value and depreciation over time, it's because it's a proven asset that hasn't failed. And when you put a new boat in the water in this region, there is a higher element of risk. In the last 2 weeks, we've been looking at three particularly large boats from very wealthy people who are spending a lot of money. They're full of hazards, they're full of dangers. The wiring's commercial wiring. The fuse boxes are the same as you'll find in your villa. Everything's sheeted in PVC pipes. I mean, everything is asking for something to go wrong. And in Charlotte, nothing does go wrong, because when you're dealing with the marine market, You're not, if there's a house fire, you can get out. If you're awake in time, you can get out. If there's something happens to your boat, you are alone, you're in the middle of the sea, chances are it's not going to be pleasant for you. And that's something that the market understands here, but we really need to take a combined approach to really get the message through as to how to deal with these situations. And I'm sure from your guys' point of view, the last thing you need is boats catching fire, boats sinking. It's not good for the P&L. It's really not good for P&L. But more importantly, it's not good for confidence in the market. Now, our location here gives us a fantastic opportunity to spread. I mean, there's no way you can get the growth that you can get here. I don't think there's ever been a civilization on Earth which has had the development that we've seen in the UAE in the last 20 years. It's exponential and it's amazing, and the potential it's on the doorstep for us. But we have to somehow get this education through. We're dealing with guys that have been building boats, some companies here for over 100 years, and it's very hard to explain to somebody that what they have been doing in the past doesn't meet the standards of now. But we have to remember that these boats weren't running with generators, they weren't running with power, they were sailed until very recently. And so modernising the existing vessels that are here into the modern requirements that people have for their leisure, for their pastimes, even for their commercial requirements. It's not just a simple plug and play. And we have, we have very little use of classification societies here. They're all represented here. All of the major ones. Commercial Lloyd's is here, BB is here, D&B is here, ABS is here. Everyone is on the table. But encouraging the builders to meet the standards required by these guys is something that so far is eluding. It's an interesting market because, you guys will know from your clients, they'll pull up in a Rolls Royce and park it next to Toyota. But the cars are the same length, right? But they're obviously a very different value. Most of the market in this region, they look at a boat based on its length, not on its value. So you'll put a boat next to them and say, you know what, this is about 500,000 dirham. And they'll say, but this one here is 35, it's the same size. And that's something that we're competing against every day. We can't afford just to drop down and meet the lower standards in order to make the sale. Because at the end of the day, we have to sleep at night. And I like to sleep. It's not far too bad, that's my wife. We have to know that what we put in the water is going to be safe, and that whoever goes out in it is actually going to come back. It's beneficial for follow-on sales, but it's not just for that. We have all of our roles in the community, we have a responsibility, we have a requirement to care for other people and to promote the whole community in itself. And that's something that we take very seriously, and it's something we're trying to incorporate into the market. Now we have a 5-year plan to expand our business into several different divisions, and one of them is a training school for proper corrective maintenance and preventative maintenance of vessels. I'm going to get back to electrical again because it's been doing my head in for the last few days. We've been seeing some really, really wealthy guys with some really amazing designs, spending a lot of money on their vessels, but at the end of the day, they're taking their life in their hand every time they go out. We spoke with one guy last week, Christian, and we just pointed out to him. We said, look, you've got all this. He's got maybe, say, 30 kilometres worth of electrical cable in his boat. It's a ridiculous amount. It's all sheathed in flammable material. It's all held behind raw timber. I said, look, seriously, sir, you've got 5 children. You've told me this is going to be your family boat. If you take your kids on this boat, inshallah, you will be fine. But if you're not, you won't have time to get out. It's not a wooden boat, it's a composite boat. It's based on oil-based materials. If it starts to burn, it will finish very, very quickly. Now, as soon as this guy was explained through the different processes and the different steps that were required to keep him safe, he understood immediately. There's no, a lot of guys come to the UAE and think, these guys are silly. Nobody here is silly. They know if you take the time to explain to somebody what is the requirement, what is the problem, what is needed to ensure that this vessel is safe, they understand immediately. It then becomes a matter of whether they wish to pay or not. And that's fine because that becomes their choice. But we have to be sure, this is obviously builder's perspective, we have to be sure that we communicate the requirements to the client so that they know that what they get is correct. I know this really isn't from an insurance point of view at all, sorry about that. But anyway, I'm a boat builder, I speak from what I know. So it's something that's been quite difficult. We've spent a lot of time in the last few months talking with classification societies here, trying to promote some interest in them. And they have the same, all of them have the same answer. The answer is, you know what, the guys don't want to spend money on getting the proper approvals, on getting the safety done. They'll come and they'll ask us for advice, they'll come and they'll ask us for what materials to use, but they won't go through process planning because it's seen as a waste of money from the start. And that's where we're coming in and just trying to make a little bit of a difference, trying to push through to them, not just, okay, this is going to cost you this much and this is what's going to happen, but to explain step by step. If we work through these processes in this manner, then you have a very reduced chance of this happening. If you don't do this and something does go wrong, and believe me, a lot of times things do go wrong, then you have this in place, and you have this in place, and you have this in place. And this will protect you, and at the minimum, it will buy you time. And that, at the end of the day, that's what we all need, isn't it? More time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brittany.